We have Union Minister for Civil Aviation, Shri Ashok Gajapathi Raju with us. Sir, welcome to the series Sewa ke 2 Saal.
Thank you.
Sir, first up, what gives you personal or professional satisfaction of heading a cutting-edge ministry like Civil Aviation from past 2 years?
It's been a challenge, and for us, particularly in the political level, it has been a learning experience while working on it. We are definitely satisfied. 2 years, probably the only country which has registered a growth of 20%. No other country in the world has come to 21% growth in 2 years. India has come that far. It is satisfying because the economy has an impact on aviation. Aviation also contributes to the economy. So in that sense, it has gained and the economy has behaved well. So it's good. In fact, new employment is also coming in. And it's still got a scope which needs to be harnessed. Like MRO, maintenance, repair overall. Now, this is one activity that most Indian airlines are going outside the country. So, if they come within the country, there's a $700 million business. So, it can generate a lot of jobs. So, we are interested in that. So, Finance Ministry has come forward. The things that were bugging that industry, like customs window of 3 years from 1 year and service taxes, these angles have been a little addressed. So we anticipate that activity to come within the country. Right now they're going to Singapore, Dubai, Sri Lanka. In other words, what does India doesn't have which Sri Lanka has? So that's been addressed. So we hope that thing will come back into the country, and that will be educated jobs. So this is what we are working at.
Sir, you opened up by telling us that there were various challenges. You've just told us about the MRO challenge. What were other sticky and thorny issues or say challenges that were facing the ministry when you took over?
You see, what had happened, the growth was very slow. So the pace of growth has increased. So that is something. People have started flying all around the country. The challenge still remains on our regional connectivity. Like in India, we have about 31, 32 airports which are ready for activity, where there's no airline going. And we realized that our route dispersal guidelines which we have were little inadequate to connect these. So we have developed a viability gap fundings model. Of course, this has to be cleared through cabinet, but once that's over, I anticipate at least in the next 2 years, we should get about 25 of these airports active. So we need to get more connectivity. We are a big country, so we need to get connectivity there. The route dispersal guidelines have served India reasonably well because we have 3 categories as it is. Category 1, you can say, are the routes which could be profitable to airlines. So 10% of that they have to do in other rest of the country. So that way the Northeast, which is...
Northeast has been packaged beautifully by your ministry.
So there the other forms of connectivity are low, like road, rail. So the dependence on air becomes that much more. So that those all need to be connected. So in a way, connecting has happened and it should grow. I think it will.
Sir, you've told us about regional connectivity. Now, we've been hearing about the civil aviation policy. What are the latest developments in that?
You see, for the first time, a policy has been attempted at. Otherwise, in civil aviation, it has been kind of an actions on certain situations which have emerged at from time to time. You require a policy because it kind of gives economic activity space to plan. A policy by nature is not truth for all time. But if it has a life of 3 years, 5 years, whatever X period of this thing, it allows business to plan and it allows business to function with some definiteness, which business requires. Otherwise, business doesn't know how to plan, whether its investment will get its return or not. So they are looking at it. So that way, but there's a marked difference. If you see in India, historically we have more airlines which have shut down. So that way, We are thinking that economic activity should survive, should contribute, should be useful, should pay taxes. So all this is there. So this will go on.
Sir, I would be lying if I wouldn't tell you that Air India happens to be endeared object in everybody's heart because of the long years of association, and it is part of our folklore or part of our life. Now, what is happening to Air India? What kind of future it will have?
You see, Air India is a very good airline as an airline goes. It has done India proud, served Indians well, literally through thick and thin. The problem with Air India is its books. Now its books are bad. This is the first year we have come without an operating loss. Air India, you can't call it really a profit in that sense. But the taxpayers' money has not been further drained. And we can't commit the taxpayers' money to eternity. So I have realized one thing. If they work as a cohesive team, they will deliver. There are problems in the sense Air India as it is today is the successor of Indian Airlines, Air India. There was a merger done at some point of time. And there are service issues. Now those issues, they have to sort it out. We can't sort it out for them. The Dharmadhikari committee has come in, they have had a look at all that. But they have the potential of being a very good airline. They have served India well, particularly in its regional connectivity. Assets here in those figures, the figures you're talking about, those assets will hardly serve anything. The type of, what do you call it, its debt is about 30,000 crore. So you're talking in those lines, 30,000, 50,000 crore, whole thing. The asset base will not serve it like that. But what can serve it is the cohesive work of the people involved in Air India. We have cases of high indiscipline there. But where they have worked, get over that indiscipline thing and fly, they'll come out well. They have the capability and we wish them well.
So, shall we take it that this investment is not on the anvil?
You see, present books, given its condition, I don't think anyone will invest in Air India. But if it can become a success story, where that can become an option in the future. Now, this is where we wish it to well. I personally won't go into Air India bashing because it's a good airline. It's a nice airline. It's done us all proud. Sometimes they have worked beyond the call of duty. They have gone to war zones, picked up Indians in evacuation, brought them out. Yemen is a classic example of that.
Kuwait before that.
Yeah. And where Kuwait, at least no other country requested India to evacuate their citizens. But Yemen, 46 countries in the world, requesting India to be of help to evacuate their citizens. This is something that the world never thought of India like that. Now they think that India is a country which they can also look up to. It's something good.
Yes, definitely fills you with pride, sir. Sir, you are an advocate of cargo traffic mobilization as well as its transportation through civil aviation. Because as you have been telling us, that civil aviation is right now looked in very narrow terms of passenger traffic. So what are your policies or what are you going to do in this field of cargo traffic, enhancing it as well as advocating it?
You see, first of all, for export outside the country, we need to address ourselves to what they call the dwell time. Dwell time in India is very high, but it's a mixture between customs, basically revenue. So these angles come in. But if we are able to see that dwell time comes down in India, to that extent, the cargo that generally gets flown, that will get promoted outside the country. Within the country, I think those infrastructures have to be attended to. And we need more cargo airlines. You see, the biggest airline in the world is a cargo airline. If you take the past 10, 15 years, it's got more cargo flying than passengers. You see, cargo also, that has a direct impact on the economy. So we also need to gear ourselves up. And like I told you, all types of climates we have. We have temperature sensitive goods. E-commerce is picking up. So all this will need cargo, and cargo will need them. So it's a mutual benefit.
So it's basically airways are going to be the roads up in the sky.
I guess so. For certain goods, yes. Because the costs are a bit higher, those are goods that are temperature sensitive. World over, they are coming in here. So I guess for that market, e-commerce, it's really got a good future.
Sir, what about the air service agreements or bilateral, as we know? What is taking
You see,
place in that?
now air service agreements, these are agreements done from country to country on a level of equality. Fortunately or unfortunately, Indian players, both public sector and private sector, have not been able to perform as well as some of the foreign airlines. Like if they are able to use, say, 60-65% of their agreements, we are not able to use 30% of those same agreements. So we have been motivating our own airlines that, look here, you have to perform. There are routes which are profitable, there are routes that are not profitable, but one should not be sitting on these bilaterals. In fact, in the past 2 years, some type of additional performance is visible, which is good. And this serves us, our country, well. It helps in tourism. But basically, if you look at the Gulf carriers, for instance, they have tried to make their own areas as hubs, use India as spokes, because India has a lot of destinations. Most of these places don't offer you many destinations anyway. So the hub and spoke models, they are working out. We in India would like our hubs also to be within India, but you can't say it will happen immediately. It needs the infrastructure, it needs the growth of airlines, and we are addressing ourselves to that. There have been restrictions imposed in the past which pulls down or pushes down Indian players. Now that we are trying to modify and set it right. So all that the policy is addressing, and it's in an advanced stage now. Like we have never had that much of consultation. First a draft policy was drafted, put on the net public domain. Suggestions were invited, and lots of people responded. Those suggestions were taken into consideration. Then informally a few ministers, group of ministers, seniors also sat how to go about these things. They were also discussed. So at each stage, every stage, it has been improving. So we have had the benefit of advice from all angles. It's now reached the stage where the cabinet note has to go in. Why cabinet? Because certain decisions in the past had come out from cabinet. So if you need a modification, it has to go back, I understand, to cabinet, and cabinet has to decide. So once that exercise is over, I guess we'll have a vibrant policy which will encourage aviation in all spheres within the country.
This spoke and hub model that you have spoken about, you will be in close interaction with ministries like tourism and, say, culture and...
Tourism does benefit from aviation. Aviation also benefits from tourism.
Symbiotic relation.
And it's not only aviation, because world over at the capital invested, the highest employing capability is tourism. And there are very few countries in the world. In fact, I would say India has an extremely rich heritage. Probably we have to make ourselves tourism friendly. And once that happens, I guess things will start falling in place. India has this potential, and we intend to harness this potential, because tourism always employs right from the man in the street, the smallest, to probably even the one of the best hotels in the world. And India has everything. So it's a question of harnessing that potential.